Grandmaster Divya Deshmukh is entering into the playing venue along with her mother, Namrata Deshmukh, and she is going to take on the tournament leader today, Bibisara Assaubayeva. And you can see Divya has earphones in her ears. She is most likely listening to some music, and that's what the players do. They get into the groove before, and they get into complete sort of the zone of their game. Now, the classical game between Bibisara and Divya ended in a draw. So now we are in the territory of Armageddon, where Bibisara has 10 minutes on the clock and Divya has 7 minutes here. Bibisara has been playing wonderful chess in this tournament. She managed to beat Koneru Humpy in their classical encounter. She managed to beat Zhu Jinner in Armageddon. And now with Divya Deshmukh, let's see if she manages to win as well. On the other hand, Divya Deshmukh started off with a win in the Armageddon against Zhu Wenjun, then a win in the Armageddon against Koneru Humpy, and then now she's playing Bibisara. So you can say two next generation players in the world of chess. Very likely that one of them or maybe both could go on to become the world champions in the future, and they are very good at speed chess. In fact, Bibisara Assaubayeva has become 3-time World Blitz champion. That's how good she is. On the other hand, Divya is fairly good with her speed chess as well. So we'll see who wins in this encounter. The players are ready. 10 minutes to Bibisara, must win for her. 7 for Divya with draw odds. Knight comes out to f3, pawn to d5. We have c4, e6, g3, and Divya snatches the pawn. Knight comes to d7, she's well prepared. a6, takes the pawn, b5 to get the bishop on this long diagonal. Both the players moving very quickly. The best move now is c5 and Divya plays it. Knight comes out to c3. Now putting pressure. You can push the pawn to b4. You can also play queen to b6. You can also play bishop c6. She plays bishop c6, castles, and Divya needs to get her pieces out. She goes knight to f6. And now Bibisara is thinking what to do. So one idea that is very much in the spirit of this position is pawn to d4. Because then you are able to get this bishop working. But b4, and suddenly you have to move the knight away. So she goes d3. Doesn't move her pawn 2 squares. Divya gets her bishop out. Pawn to b3 played to play bishop b2. Castles, and the bishop comes out to b2. I must say that black has got everything in this position that she would have desired from the opening. Now the rooks can come into the center of the board, nicely positioned. And for Bibisara to win this, she'll have to do something special. Ooh, rook f b8. That's slightly surprising, I must say, because I think the most natural move was rook f c8 or rook f d8. But rook b8, and maybe Divya wanted to take on a4, and she goes back with her queen. Pawn to e4 played. With this move, you're limiting the black pieces. So the idea is to just get this center, and black needs to now figure out what to do against it. One idea for Divya is, yeah, she just tries to correct the positioning of her rooks. She goes rook c8 and rook b8. Very practical play, very practical. It's also very smart in that sense. Bibisara has kept a time edge of more than 3 minutes here. So she can now figure out what next to do. Maybe there is e5 here. I mean, e5 could be met with knight to d5. So that solves the problem there. Knight d1 seems like a very good idea. So like AB, AB, knight d1, and then putting the knight on e3 could be a nice plan. She goes h3. Divya also plays h6 pretty quickly, and the time lead for Bibisara is reducing from 3 minutes. It's now down to 2.5 minutes. And this is what Divya does so well. She quickly gains time on the clock. AB, AB, and rook a1, getting the open file. And maybe for Divya makes sense to put the rook back on a8. Yes, good move. Rook on a8. Queen to c2. And takes, rook, rook a8 played. We have rook to d1. And the queen comes to b8. The idea of this queen move is that eventually you may want to trade the knights with knight e5 or even queen b7. So the rook comes to e1. I really like now this plan of b4. It's very committal. Knight b1 and rook a2. Getting the rook activated here. Goes bishop d8. And now pawn to d4 played by Bibisara. Wow. She defended her e4 pawn. Now b4 by Divya. The game is getting sharp. Knight to b1. And if she gets knight d2, knight c4, and look at that quick decision by Divya to give up two pieces for a rook. How did she decide that in a blink of an eye? Okay, rook a2 is what she wanted. Wow, because if you played knight f6, then queen c2 and white is doing very well, but rook a2 attacks the bishop. Bishop comes back to c1. This was such good assessment by Divya Deshmukh. And she goes queen a8, offering a trade of queens even. And this is insane understanding shown by Divya. I mean, it's not at all easy what she's done. She's basically said, take two of my pieces. Yes, I'll take a pawn and a rook, but generally two pieces are considered more valuable. But I think Divya has understood that her rook has really good scope on the a file and can start working down the a file. Bishop e3. Okay, what about rook a1 now? There's knight d2 defending the knight. 6 minutes 30 seconds for Bibisara, 4 minutes 30 seconds for Divya. The time difference is 2 minutes. Okay, first threat is to take this pawn. So maybe bishop b6 makes a lot of sense. She comes in with the rook, knight comes back to d2. And yes, this is very passive right now. I'm pretty sure Divya's calculating c4, b takes c4, b3, if there's any hope, but then bishop e4 and defense is coming in. So takes, rook is hanging, she goes rook a2. Somehow these two knights are kind of tied to each other. Knight c4 and Bibisara wants to get knight d2. 34 moves done. After move 40, you have 1 second increment. Bishop f6 played. She takes. And Divya takes with the knight. And knight d2. So white has got everything now nicely covered. Knight to d5 by Divya. Cannot take this knight because ed, the knight has to move and the rook on d2 will rook on a2 will snatch the pawn. So knight to d5. And now, how is Bibisara going to make progress is the question. Her knight on c4 cannot move easily. She goes bishop e4. Still has a 2-minute lead on the clock. Knight to c3. Goes king f8, bringing the king slowly in. King g2. Maybe king e7 is the right way to continue. There's also f5 somewhere which could be played, which is a logical move to expand on the king side. Knight c3, attacking the bishop. Goes bishop d3. And now king e7. Slowly and steadily improving the position. f6, e5. She goes king e7. King comes up to f3. Bibisara has to win. So, and I like how she's kept a time lead on the clock. She's good at this. She's good at making quick moves. So Divya down to 2 minutes 30 seconds. Bibisara has 5 minutes 20 seconds. Knight goes to b5. And maybe knight d4 check. Keeping an eye here. King e3. Good move. And let's start the expansion. f5, g5. You can go f5, king f6, e5. Slowly and steadily. Jumps in. Knight to c3. And now it's time for Bibisara to actually start thinking how she's going to make progress, because I really like this move, king d4 and king c5. So let's say if I go check, king to c5. Oh, she does go king here and Divya quickly brings her knight back. But what if king c5? Isn't that good for Bibisara? Up, but Bibisara, you have enough time. You have 4 minutes on the clock. Divya has also kept her clock time very good, 2 minutes 17 seconds. So king to c5. Keeping an eye here. Now rook a8 to give a check could be an idea. No. She does play king c5. Good move. The knight is defending here, but next move, my idea can be bishop e4 to chop this off. So imagine you play g5, bishop e4, and white should have a very nice edge here. So maybe f5 makes sense. But if you play f5, I have bishop takes f5, ef5, king d5. And white is once again winning. So tough position for Divya. She finds rook a8, which is not an easy move. With just 2 minutes on the clock, it's a very good move. Bishop e4 to attack the knight and then take the pawn. Check. King goes back. Knight to c3. I was wondering if you could keep the king in the zone here, but then check and the checks keep coming. So king d4, knight c3, bishop comes back to f3. And you have f5 now. She comes back, knight b5, king goes back to e3. And this is a great play by Divya Deshmukh. She's playing so well. Knight to a3 played, so that if knight takes knight, pawn takes, and this is very powerful, the pawn. So you have to play something like bishop e2. Yeah, Bishop comes back to e2. And now knight to c2 check. And the king comes in, check here, king goes to e4, f5 check. Divya finding some amazing moves, taking away most of the squares from the white king. And look at this. Now, if you go king f4, this king could be in trouble, g5. So, I mean, you can go to d4 or e3. If you go to e3, I give you a check. Now you don't have these squares. If you go to f3, I give you check again. King e3, check. King d3, check again. You don't have moves. King d4, check. And that's like a very weird perpetual. I mean, it's that kind of a perpetual which once you fall into it, you realize, oh my god, what have I gotten into? And for white, that is Bibisara, this is just the end of the road because she needs to win on demand. She cannot afford a draw. So she has to win. But how do you win? How do you even make progress here? King e5 met with rook d8 with the idea of checkmate here. And there perhaps, I mean, it's not a checkmate because, I mean, f4 square is still there. So I'll take it away with g5. But let's say g4 is a good move and g6 and take gf. And black's position is for choice. So Bibisara, well, I think good or bad has to try, right? King e5, because if she doesn't try, it's just a draw, and draw is a loss in the Armageddon. She's down to 1 minute 10 seconds now. Okay, Divya and her time has now come to equal. King d4 check. King d3 check. Divya is ready with her moves. She knows that she has the draw. King e3 check. And I think somewhere in your mind you don't want to get into positions where you could lose, you know, with king f4. So she is happily taking the draw here. I mean, not so happy. And Divya gets the draw and she scores her third Armageddon win after beating Humpy Ju Wenjun. She now beats Bibisara Assaubayeva, the leader of the tournament. Brilliant performance by Divya Deshmukh.